Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about probably the best time of year to be a sports fan, March Madness. So I'm going to talk about all of my picks for all of the games. I'm not going to get into all, but I'm going to go over the notable games. I'll give you my final four, and at the end of the video, I'll give you my full bracket. So stay tuned. Now, I want to go over all of my upsets in the first round, and trust me, there are plenty to choose from to talk about. Now, I want to talk about a matchup I really like, San Diego State and Charleston. Now, Charleston, they won 30 games, but obviously not a great conference. San Diego State, they were neck and neck in their conference championship game, but the 5-12, a very common upset. I think I really like the matchup. It matches up evenly. And Charleston, I think they are definitely a sleeper to win this matchup, and I'm picking them. I think they are one of the best 12 seeds in the bracket. I think them and Oral Roberts might be the two best 12 seeds in the bracket, in my opinion. And overall, this team, they looked great all year. I mean, so did San Diego State. San Diego State has a lot of experience, so I'll give them that. But Charleston, they absolutely dominated their conference, and I think they definitely will get past San Diego State. Another upset I have, Duke and Oral Roberts. Talk about a game, two red-hot teams. Oral Roberts led by Max Abmas, a 17-game win streak against Duke, who is led by Kyle Flapowski and a lot of other freshmen. I think this matchup is very great. Two red-hot teams, but like I mentioned, the 5-12 is a very common upset. And Oral Roberts, they have been playing amazing basketball, haven't lost in their conference all year, and they have the matchup with Flapowski. Everyone's picking Duke in their Final Four. I don't get it. Duke is a great team, but the road that they have been, given by the committee to play Oral Roberts early on, that is a very tough matchup. It could go either way, and in my opinion, whoever wins that matchup is going to the Final Four. That might be a hot take, but Oral Roberts, I think they could definitely pull off the upset, and since it's March, anything can happen, I'm picking them. Now for more upsets, I'm going to talk about IU and Kent State. I think both of these teams are great. IU, Trace Jackson Davis has been playing great basketball all year. I'll give them that. Jalen Hood-Schifino has been a great freshman, but Kent State, they are the best 13 seed in the bracket. I know that's not saying much, but this team, I think they should have been seeded higher by the committee. I think they are way too good to be a 13. I would have put them at like 11 or even a 10. I think they're a great team. They won the MAC. They had a very tough matchup against Toledo in the championship, and they won that. And out of conference, they almost beaten some great teams like Houston and Gonzaga. They've proven that they can play with teams. They can play with anybody, I think. And if they catch IU on the wrong day, they're winning. I'm picking Kent State in upset. Another upset I got is Iona over UConn. Now, this is a very controversial pick. A lot of people have UConn going far, and I don't blame them. UConn, they are red hot as of late. I mean, they had a pretty cold stretch near the middle of the year, and in the beginning of the year, they were great, and they looked like they would be a 1 seed in the tournament at the very beginning of the year, but then they got cold as the road went on for them. But Iona, I think this team is very streaky, kind of like UConn, and I think UConn, with the inconsistency, you never know what can happen in March, obviously, and with how inconsistent they've been, I would not be shocked if Iona came in there and pulled off a huge upset, a 13-4 upset, and got the win. And I'm picking Iona. Now for more upsets in the round of 32, Tennessee and Oral Roberts. I mean, this is a great matchup yet again. Tennessee, my issue with them, they are a good team. Don't get me wrong. 1 week they'll beat Alabama, but then the next week they'll lose to like Florida and Vanderbilt. The consistency, I'm not sure about, and Oral Roberts, I think they have way too much momentum to be stopped at this point, and I think Oral Roberts is going to get the win. I don't think Tennessee has really anybody that can guard Max Abmas. On the other side of the bracket, Miami and Kent State. Now, Miami, my issue with them, they almost beat Duke without Norchad Omier, probably their best player. And Norchad Omier, he will probably be questionable for that game. And I think a lot of the result of that game depends on whether he'll be back or not. But Kent State, they have so much Cinderella, material with their team. They have been playing really good basketball all year against good teams. I don't see why they can't knock off Miami, who have had some bad losses all year, and especially without Norchad Omier possibly. I think Kent State advances. All right, Sweet 16. This is going to be crazy. Purdue and Oral Roberts. I've been very high on Purdue all year. Zach Edey, let's admit it, he's been the best player in the country. Very unguardable. But when you double team him, that is when, it gets very hard for him to dominate like he usually does. And with Fletcher Lawyer playing pretty terribly as of late, it could be hard for Purdue to beat this Oral Roberts team. But Braden Smith, their point guard, he can provide a lot of playmaking in the post, and that could save Purdue. But at the same time, is there really anybody on Purdue that could guard Max Abmas? No. And you saw in the Penn State-Purdue Big Ten Championship, when they took Edey out of the game for those final 2 minutes, Penn State, they mounted a pretty big comeback and almost came back and won the Big Ten Championship. But then they put Edey back in the game and Purdue got the win. So I think Oral Roberts, if they can catch Purdue at the right time on the right run, I think they are going to the Elite Eight. I don't think anybody can guard Max Abmas on that team, but can anybody guard Edey on Oral Roberts? Not really. I mean, it's going to be a great matchup. I think it can go either way. But Purdue, they choke around this time of year. But you never know. You never know. That's why March is so exciting. And another matchup I really like, Marquette and Kansas State. Now, Kansas State, they have been one of my favorite teams to watch all year. Keontae Johnson, the former Florida Gator, who has a great story. He collapsed on the court. It looked like his career was probably over. He transferred to Kansas State and has had an amazing year with them. It's been incredible. But Marquette, they have been really good as well, led by Tyler Kolek, who has been great all year, one of the best playmakers in the country. And Marquette has really taken over the Big East as the powerhouse ever since Villanova completely fell off after Jay Wright retired. And this is a great 2-3 matchup. But Marquette, we've seen in the Big East tournament, they almost lost to St. John's, which was a bit concerning. And I think the consistency isn't quite there. In Kansas State, they're one of the best 3 seeds in the bracket. They're moving on to the Elite Eight to play Oral Roberts. Now to the other side of the bracket, I want to talk about Gonzaga and UCLA. 2 very experienced teams led by Drew Timme of Gonzaga in his 5th year, I believe. And then UCLA led by Jaime Jaquez, who has been one of the most efficient scorers in the nation. UCLA, they have so many great weapons on the court that can get hot at the right time, like Tiger Campbell, especially beyond the arc for Tiger Campbell. If he can get hot, this team is very dangerous. We even saw in the Pac-12 championship game, Amari Bailey. He has a lot of potential, and I'm very excited for his future with UCLA. I'm going to have to give the slight edge to UCLA. I think they're the deeper team, and you know how Gonzaga usually does it this time of year. They choke. Now to the Elite Eight. I'm going to pick every game in the Elite Eight that I have. Alabama and Arizona. Talk about a great matchup. Brandon Miller, top 5 player in the nation. Double threat any given night. This Alabama team is filled with shooters, and they have a great shooting team. But Arizona, Kerr Kriisa, talk about a player that is very, hard to stop. And not only that, Alabama, I don't think they have anybody that can guard him. So this is a great matchup. But because of how deep Alabama is, I'm taking them to go to the Final Four. And now Oral Roberts and Kansas State. Now, Oral Roberts, they've had a pretty tough path to get here. They've beaten Duke, Tennessee, and Purdue. But this team is red hot. I think if they were to get to this point, it would be 20 straight wins. Kansas State, they aren't that hot. I think Kansas State is definitely Final Four worthy. But this might seem crazy, but 12 seed Oral Roberts, I have them going to the Final Four in one of arguably the greatest Cinderella run ever. Now, hear me out. It might sound crazy, but in that region, I think anything can happen. Now, Houston, they'll be taking on Texas. I'm very impressed with Texas. With everything they've overcome all year, with Chris Beard being dismissed as the head coach, everything they've overcome is great. But Houston, they will be getting Marcus Sasser back around this time. They might even be getting him back earlier. And he is one of the most dangerous scorers in the country. Not only that, but Jarace Walker, he's very NBA ready already as a freshman, I believe. So this Houston team is absolutely dangerous, and they are a top 3 team in the nation when fully healthy. Very hard to pick against them there. I'm picking Houston to go to the Final Four. And now to the final game of the Elite 8. I got UCLA taking on Kansas. Now, this is a great matchup. Kansas, they did not look good in the Big 12 championship game, but they did not have head coach Bill Self. He was in the hospital, but he should be back by then. And obviously in college basketball, coaching is a lot more important than in the NBA. And this Kansas team, last year, they were incredible. They were the national champion. And I think they could definitely do it again this year. Grady Dick is one of the most electric players in the nation. And Jalen Wilson is a great post scorer, but I wish he was a little bit more efficient in that scoring realm. But UCLA, I think they're just way too deep of a team with a lot of experience, like with Tiger Campbell, Jaime Jaquez, and then a young guy in Amari Bailey. I just think this UCLA team is way too experienced and way too deep, and they are way too hard to beat. So I got UCLA going to the Final Four. Now to my Final Four. Alabama taking on Oral Roberts, which that is a easy matchup for Alabama. I'm sorry, but the Cinderella run is over for Oral Roberts. Alabama is going to the national championship game. They are way too deep of a team to be stopped by Oral Roberts of all teams. Then on the other side, Houston and UCLA. This matchup is a great matchup in my opinion. I think Houston, overall, very deep team, but at the same time, they will have Marcus Sasser back by then. But with the competition they play against and how they played without Sasser in the AAC championship game, it didn't look good. And I don't think that will fare well against a very deep and experienced UCLA team. So I'm picking UCLA to go to the national championship game. Now my national championship game, Alabama and UCLA. Talk about a national championship game of the ages. Brandon Miller versus Jaime Jaquez, two great scorers, which that will be a great battle. Javon Quinterly and Tiger Campbell, that will also be a great matchup. But I got Alabama winning this one, and they are going to win the national championship. I'll tell you why. This Alabama team, they have been so consistent all year. They've only lost twice. They've been great in the conference, and the only teams they've lost to have been really good teams. So Alabama, this team is incredible. Like a lot of teams in the country, they have dips and dives. Alabama, they have no dips. They just keep peaking all the time. This Alabama team keeps getting better and better with the more adversity they face. I don't think anybody's beating Alabama. This team is too good to be beaten, and Alabama is my national champion. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.